You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith. Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Today is also the feast day of an English saint named St. Margaret Ward. Now, St. Margaret Ward lived in the 1500s during the Reformation, when lots of countries, including England, were breaking away from the Catholic Church and forming Protestant denominations. Margaret Ward was a mother who smuggled a rope to a man named Father Richard Watson. He was a priest who would not abandon the Catholic faith. He used the rope then to escape prison and to go out and to continue to say Mass for the faithful. St. Margaret Ward was found guilty of this and refused to tell the authorities where the priest was hiding. And she ended up being a martyr for the faith, along with many other faithful people in England during this time. Now, this week we are talking about how we get to heaven, how we become saints. And Jesus laid this out for us in the gospel. The first step was publicly proclaimed both by Jesus and his cousin St. John the Baptist. And this first step is to repent, to look back on our lives and see how we have failed and have a true desire, deep desire to do better, to start new and to live for Jesus. Now, the second step to have faith is super duper important. Jesus, almost every time he worked a miracle, he says, "Your faith has saved you. Your faith has healed you." Now, you should stop and think that's pretty strange, because when you just hear about the miracles, you think, well, it's Jesus. He's God. He's the one that's healed me. But he says something different. He says, your faith has healed you. Now, of course, we know that God is God. He is the Almighty because he created all things, our human body and the oceans and weather. All things obey his commands. Even death obeys his command. He rose people from the dead. And yet, when he heals people, he says, your faith has healed you. Now, this leads us to understand that it is our faith that allows Jesus to act in our lives. Remember, the first step is to repent. We all inherited original sin from Adam and Eve. We all are sinners. And if you're like me, sometimes you're sinning and you feel like you can't even stop. Like you try to be better, but you're just a hopeless sinner. And so the truth is that the only person that can make us better, that can make us holy, is Jesus. And it takes a miracle sometimes for our hearts to be changed, for our hearts to be softened, for our habits to be cured. And Jesus will come into our lives and do this work, but he will only do this work if we believe that he can do it. If we believe that he can do it, and we trust that he will do it, and he will do it in the right way, even if it's not quite the way that we had in mind. One of my favorite stories from the Gospel of Healing is when Jesus is traveling and a leper comes up to him. And this leper, of course, the disciples are all freaked out, right? Because leprosy is very contagious, and you just stayed away from lepers in the ancient world. But Jesus comes up to this leper. He places his hand on the leper, and the leper says to him, "If you want to, you can make me well." If you want to, you can make me well. Now, this, my friends, this little sentence is such a powerful statement of faith. He says, Jesus, I know you have the power. I know that you are God. I know that even leprosy will obey your command. But I not only know you have the power, I trust that you know what is best for me and that you will use that power when and if it's needed, if it's the best thing to do. Perhaps Jesus will look at this leper and say, no, you will be holier if you remain sick. That is better for your soul. And so he says, Jesus, I know you can do it. Do it if it is right. And that, my friend, is the ultimate example of having faith in Jesus. Now, having faith in Jesus is like a muscle. So if you have ever lifted weights or gotten stronger or gotten better at a sport, you know it takes time. It takes practice. You don't just sit around and watch TV all summer and then boom, you're amazing at soccer. That's not how it works. We practice, we build this faith muscle by constantly surrendering. And in everything, whether it's schoolwork or relationships, by constantly telling Jesus, I trust you, I know you can do it. And if you want to do it, then Lord, do it. So let's remember that. Let's have faith. And today, once again, we have an incredible martyr for the faith that we can look to as an example. Saint Margaret Ward. She is only one of many martyrs. And so let's all just reflect on martyrdom today, the ultimate example of having faith in Jesus Christ. You say, my life isn't even as valuable as my relationship with Jesus. I would much rather lose my life than lose my relationship with Jesus. Let's all pray through those powerful martyrs up in heaven that we can have faith in Jesus too, and that one day we can join them in heaven.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God created you to be.
Just one more thing. We are officially launching our Be a Saint Kids Club this month, later this week with Blessed Carlo Acutis in September. However, there's still a chance for you to join us. You can find the direct link to enroll in the Be a Saint Kids Club in the notes for this podcast episode. We already have over 1,200 kids enrolled, and we would love for you to join us too.
This show is a production of the Spoke Street Media Podcast Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.